Hello everyone, today I'm going to be showing you how I rendered this hairdryer. It's a Philips Thermo something 2000 watt. It was super easy and probably won't take you longer than 5-10 minutes. Basically you go into your keyshot scene. I've made a custom aspect for Instagram so that I sort of know it will be exactly as Instagram likes it. Here in models, I've got a downloaded hairdryer that is just from the keyshot cloud, which is, if you go here, you can download models, all sorts. It's getting bigger and bigger, which is good. So yeah, if we drag this in, it's quite nice. You can just drag and drop it. At the moment, it's in this orientation. I'd be tempted to pick it up like that, just so that the shadow on the bottom doesn't show too much, and we use the HDRI more. So yeah, we've got it in position, like that, so you can sort of see. Add a camera. Camera 1 here. This could just be the side view. I'll put it down a bit. Maybe make a little bit more. If you increase the perspective, you're going to a larger focal length, which means that it sort of looks a bit more orthographic. You can go fully orthographic here, which is sort of a bit more CAD looking, like in SolidWorks, or if you go into this perspective, you can sort of change that and play with that. So yeah, here you can see that if we go really low on the perspective, it sort of like warps it a bit too much. But that can be useful for like big things. But yeah, I think for this object, go for this. I can't remember exactly the angle that I had it in the photo. In fact, yeah, we had it at one. That, we add a new camera. That's that. Save it there. Lock it. Camera 2, camera 1. Save that. Lock it. Cool. So we've got our two different views now. First sort of step really would be to play with your materials, but I think on this one I just use the standard materials because it's it's from the library, so it has all the materials and textures and stuff on it, so it's super easy. Going into the product render mode, got our environment here, make a new one, do it for the. Then, so yeah, if we make the background colour black, it means that the highlights and stuff are really contrasty, which if we go back to our reference image, is sort of how I had it. So yeah, ideally you have a highlight light going around the back of it, and so to do that you change the background to the lighting environment. Then you find it in the screen. Here we go. Put it there. Sort of, yeah, have that like that, and then we go back to a black colour. You can see that just sort of makes a highlight around the back edges, which increases the sort of contrast with the edges. And then if we add another pin. This icon, you click to add highlights, so you can click on surfaces. So you could add one there if you wanted. Another one inside potentially. If you increase the radius, it increases the size of the light, but it makes the shadow not as harsh. It's a softer shadow, and that's just to do with physics. If you have like a laser, it's a very small light, so it makes it a very contrast. So you could increase the brightness and then make it really small. which sort of makes it a bit more dramatic in terms of the light and dark spots. Potentially, so a good way to recognise which pin does what is if you turn it off and on. So that's the background pin, that's the top pin. I think I'm inclined to increase the brightness of that, increase the radius. You can also play around with fall off, which sort of changes as it goes from the highlight into the shadow, it sort of changes the gradient in which it goes and does that. So yeah, I think I would drop that a bit. With this sort of thing, it's just a lot of playing around as well. Yeah, and you can just really quickly just click through your scene, adding highlights as and where you want. You don't want to add too many, but you don't want the scene to be too dark as well. Reduce the brightness of that potentially. Yeah, and then the next thing to do to sort of boost your image is going into photographic in image. You can play around with the exposure. White balance, don't really touch too much. You can also play around with the contrast, response curve, what sort of look you want. Maybe go high contrast and reduce the exposure a bit. Not too dark, a bit grayer. And yeah, the curves is quite useful as well, going through shadows, sort of playing around with that. Mid-tones, whites, yeah, and that pretty much just shows you how to make a quick custom lighting for this hairdryer. And then sometimes if you sort of change camera views, it sort of comes across, but I think in this case it hasn't really, because we're still using this environment. So we can create a new environment for this, and then we make the background black again, and then add a few more lights as you want. In fact, yeah, we'll add one at the back, so you see that highlight on the top, potentially one on the underside, and one in the middle. In my opinion, I don't know, it depends on what sort of your style is, but having sort of contrast from like, harsh highlights to sort of softer areas is what I like to see. So yeah, sort of try to do that. With this, I think that might be one light too many. But you can see here how quick that is to render out, and you can play with these materials to your heart's content. You can make them all sorts, or we could make it even darker, I don't know. Up to you. I think in this case I might just leave it as it was. Click on some colours, see what it looks like. But yeah, I'm going to leave as is just because it's a super simple model from the keyshot library. Maybe change this to something else. Go for TV colours on it. And yeah, just like really quickly, you can see how that's starting to look alright. To increase the speed, we can change it to GPU mode, and that changes it to around 100 samples a second, whereas if we go off, okay, in this case I think because it's a reflective material it's actually faster to use the CPU, which is interesting. Haven't seen that before. So yeah, in this case I think we'll leave it to the CPU. But yeah, if you are sort of flicking between cameras, you've just got to make sure that you also change the environment. You can make studios if you go tools. No, it's right. It's just right next to tools. So that's here. We'll get rid of that. So in studios, we can link environments to cameras. So here, if I create a new studio, call this Studio 1, we've got camera 2 with, it would probably help if I rename these first. And then this will be 1. Cool. So in this one we've got camera 2 with environment 2, so we'll tick those two, and then we could change back to environment 1 and back to camera 1 and create a new studio here. So now we have this. So if we go back to Studio 1, it aligns the environment to the camera, and then in Studio 2 it does the same, so that when we're rendering out, it's super easy. In this case I'm just going to do it as a PNG, fairly high res. Maybe do it to 3 minutes, and add that to the queue, and then we've got select that one, and then we've got Studio 2, and then we can add that to the queue. So you can see here, that's where we've got our queue. And we can process it. So there we go. We've got our first render checking out, and that's like a high contrast, quick way of doing a quick render of a hairdryer. Thermo Protect 21,000 watts. Yeah, pretty easy. By all means, give it a go. And yeah, just for practicing rendering, it's definitely worthwhile using assets that exist. You do want to get more familiar with texturing and labeling, and thinking about CMF, color material finish. But just to learn, and because it's quite daunting to learn, and if you just segment the rendering part, I think that's a good way to do it, which is definitely what I've done to learn rendering. So I hope that helps someone out there, and yeah, take care you guys.